Hi, I'm Holly, and with my sister Heather, with my daughter Abby, you're listening to Haunted Family Podcast, a weekly podcast about the paranormal, unsolved mysteries, and even some true crime. And this week is true crime, and Kat has Abby's tongue, and she is afraid to talk.
Well, I don't know what to say yet. Hi.
Yeah. Heather has had a very busy week, and she decided to spend Friday the 13th camping, aka getting murdered. No, she's not really murdered, but she is camping. So it's just me and Abby tonight, and we are talking about probably the serial killer that has made the most impact on my life and how freaking paranoid I am. And Abby will attest to that.
Yeah, we are not allowed to do a lot of things because this serial killer has literally warped my mom's brain into thinking that everybody is out to get her.
Thanks to this serial killer, the door gets locked immediately after us. I will not have a security system by ADT or any other big company. I'm just generally just paranoid, and I won't let the dogs out at night unless I have my gun on me, and we don't walk to the car at night to go anywhere, to leave the house, or to come back from anywhere unless, one, we either have pepper spray or a gun, and two, somebody stands outside with us. We are literally that I am that paranoid, and it's all because of the BTK killer, also known as Dennis Rader. So, Dennis started, we'll just start with his childhood. Unlike 99.9% of serial killers, Dennis Rader did not have a abusive childhood. He did not have, alcoholic, absentee parents, fill in the blank of the trifecta on what usually serial killers' childhoods are like. He didn't have that. He had a boring Midwestern upbringing in Kansas, where your dog can run away for 3 days and you can watch it. Yeah, that joke, one, never gets old, and two, never fails to make Abby laugh. We just do not understand the concept of flat terrain because our house is literally nestled in the Daniel Boone National Forest, so we can't see, heck, to our left, I could almost throw a rock and
hit a mountain.
And not a mountain, but hit the Daniel Boone on one side.
That is a mountain. We just cut it in half to make a road.
Oh, yeah. So, we're probably, 4 miles on either side. I mean, obviously closer on the left, but we're literally surrounded by forest and hills, and our dog couldn't run away for 2 seconds without us seeing it.
Well, he did in the park, but an old guy caught him, so we were okay.
Yeah. So anyway, Dennis was born March 9th, 1945, and he is still alive and serving life without the possibility of parole. 175 years, 10 consecutive life sentences.
He called himself the BTK killer, which also stands for bind, torture, and kill. But he was also known as the BTK strangler.
Yeah. He had, like I said, he had a pretty boring upbringing.
He has a wife and 2 kids.
Well, he had a wife. She left him as soon as it came out that he was the BTK killer. Graduated from high school, went to college for a little bit and was studying electronics, I think it was. And then he decided to go to the Air Force. He gets out, marries this girl, Paula Dietz.
Paula Dean?
Paula Dietz.
Oh, that's less cool.
He started working in 1974, worked for a long time for ADT, which is a security company. And that is about the time that his murders started. It all started with one family, the Otero family in Wichita. And he was under the impression that Joseph, the dad, was going to not be home. But Joseph was. His intention was to surprise Julie, the mom, Josephine, the teenage daughter, and Joseph Jr.
Okay, this dad really liked himself, apparently, since he named both of his children after himself. Dude, that name is not that cool.
Yeah, so Joseph Jr. opened the door to let their dog out, and Dennis Rader just walked right in. Hence why we do not let the dogs out after dark. Even though I have a fence and a security light, it's not enough. So he overpowered and killed Joseph first. And then they actually had another son, Charlie, and he survived. Okay, in his testimony about the murder, he said that he admitted to killing the family, and he said that it happened somewhere between 7 and 7:30. What he would do is he would kind of stalk a family. He would scout them out and learn their routines. When did they come? When did they leave? And that way he was better prepared for the actual murder when he decided that it was time to murder them. And this was all kind of part of his fantasy, is like he would sit and think about the crime. The judge said, so you went to the residence, and then what did occur there? And he said, well, I did some thinking about what I was going to do, either Mrs. Otero or Josephine, and I basically broke into the house. Well, I didn't break into the house, but when they came out of the house, I came in and confronted the family, and it went on from there. The judge asked if he had planned it before, and he said yes. Okay, so he said that once he got in the house, he kind of lost control a little bit, but he had some idea of what he was going to do, so he just kind of panicked a little bit, and then he just jumped right in. He came through the back door, cut the phone lines, and then he waited by the back door after he'd cut the phone lines, and then as soon as they opened the door, he entered. He confronted the family, pulled out a pistol, and he said that he wanted the car and he was going to get food, and he asked them, that was weird. Like, yeah. I think I would eat before I went to kill somebody. But anyway, so he asked everybody to lie down in the living room. So then he realized that wasn't really a good idea, because I don't know if their living room is like ours. We're all not going to be able to lay down on the floor or something. The dog was being a real problem, so he asked the dad to get the dog and put him outside. And then that's when he took them all back into the bedroom. He took all 4 of them in the bedroom. And then he tied them up, and he still had them at gunpoint.
And then they started complaining about being tied up. And so he loosened the ties on the family like a few times. And, excuse me, the oldest Joseph, the dad, apparently had like a cracked rib from a car accident. Dennis Rader actually laid down a pillow for the dad to make him more comfortable.
How nice.
While still tightening them up and yeah, I don't know, that was weird.
Yeah, so then the family offered him money in their car or anything that they want, or anything that he wanted. He didn't have a mask on or anything. And listen, people, if somebody breaks into your house and they do not have a mask on, there's a 99.9% chance that you're fucking gonna die, because you're going to be able to pinpoint them as being the person who broke into your house. So they're not going to leave you alive.
Yeah, which is exactly what he did. He said that, and I realized that I didn't have a mask on or anything, and they'd already ID me. And he said, and I quote, so I made the decision to go ahead and put them down, I guess. Strangle them.
Yeah. He put a plastic bag over the dad's head and tied some cords around it. And, obviously he didn't die right away, because putting a plastic bag over your head and tying it is not going to kill you instantly. He tried to manually strangle him, but he didn't realize that it actually takes a lot of force to strangle someone to death. Then he moved on. See, Josephine was on the bed. Joseph Jr. was laying on the floor at this time. And he strangled the mom, let her come back a little bit, strangled her again. And, I mean, you know, eventually she died. He put a plastic bag over Junior's head. And then by this time, the dad had come to again. It was kind of like, I mean, almost like he would strangle one till they passed out, move along to the other, strangle another one. And he just kind of did that until they died, except Josephine. And he took her down in the basement and he tied her up, strangled her, masturbated on her. I mean, at least he didn't sexually assault her, but that's disgusting. And two, he was really lucky that this was at a time where DNA evidence was like, it was not really a thing yet. But unlucky for him is they kept a sample of his semen and it came back and bit him big time later on. He took the keys to their car, just left. Cleaned the house a little bit first and then he left. What's your take on that?
My take?
Yeah.
That he's psycho. I don't understand what compels people to kill other people. Like, I mean, I understand, like, getting really frustrated at somebody and saying, like, oh, I'm gonna kill you, because I've said that to Emmy, like, today. To literally sit and stalk a whole family and, like, learn their patterns, and I don't know. I don't get it. But he is really brutal, so...
yeah. And you know,
he doesn't look like a sane person. Like, if you saw a man who looks like Dennis Rader on the street, I would think, ooh, that guy looks sketchy, and I would stay away from him.
Honestly, the Oteros is really like the murder that has probably done it the most for me on, you know, how we live our life and stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's because I just can't. I mean, I've thought about this and I've thought about this. Like, what would I do if I went to let the dogs out and somebody walked in?
Well, we have seen people in, like, the backyard before. And that was creepy. Well, that was, like, a one-time thing.
Not our backyard.
Yeah, we did. Remember, it was the morning before state competition.
It wasn't our yard. It was the next door neighbor's yard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, like, the morning before state, like, I know that I've mentioned on this podcast several times that my next door neighbor died. And when she died, her house, I mean, obviously her house was left empty because she had no family. So it took probably, a year and a half for the house to sell.
It's been a very long time.
Yeah, I think it was like a year and a half or something like that before the house sold. So it has sat empty all that time. And, you know, I would kind of keep an eye on whether or not, you know, we saw anybody or whatever. And one morning, gosh, I don't even know how, it was probably not too long after the house was left empty. I got up, and it was super early in the morning because we were leaving, as Abby said, we were leaving for state. So we had to be out the door. Oh my God, I don't even know how early, but we had to leave super early.
I'd say we had to be awake by at least 5:30.
Yeah, something like that. And so it was kind of the same issue with the Oteros, is that we opened the door to let the dogs out because we knew we were going to be gone for several hours. And when we did that, we noticed that in the neighbor's yard there was a man. And he ran off when we opened the door and saw him. So I haven't seen anybody else in the yard, although we did find a can of Skull. It was Skull, right?
I don't know. It was just a can of chew.
I don't know what it was, but we found a can of it underneath our kitchen window probably 3 weeks ago, something like that. So I know I mention on this podcast all the time that we've had issues with stuff, and anyway, I hope we don't have a Dennis Rader stalking us, because I'd really hate to have to shoot him. Okay, so the next person is Catherine Bright, and on April 4th, 1974, also in Sedgwick County, Kansas, he said he had projects. So he had different people in town that he followed and he watched, and Catherine Bright was one of these people. And he just happened to be driving by one day, and he saw her going into the house with somebody else, and he thought, oh, well, she's a possibility. I'm trying to describe. It's kind of like, he would, if anything happened in the stalking process that made it look like they're not a good candidate, he would move on. But she seemed like a really good candidate, so he broke into her house and he waited for her to come home. And he went again in the back door. Why do we even have back doors?
So that you have another escape for when people come into your house. Or for a fire.
Or when a serial killer wants to break in. Anyway, so he broke in and he was waiting. And she came in, but she didn't come in alone. She came in with her brother. And he came out of his hiding place and he told them that he was wanted in California and he needed a car. He said it was kind of almost the same thing that he told the Oteros. And he did this because he wanted to make them feel more comfortable, which, I'm sorry, if somebody comes out of hiding in my room or my house, I'm not going to feel comfortable no matter what the fuck they're telling me. He tied her up first, and then he tied the guy up. And this is one of the things that just gets me. Like, somebody breaks in, and there's, let's say, 2-3 people. What is that other person doing while somebody is being tied up? Because I can tell you what I'm going to be doing. I don't care if you've got a gun on me. I'm going to try to go for mine. And I'm just the number of weapons that we have scattered around this house. I'm within easy reach of something.
If a potential murderer tries to come into the back door, I will throw the entire crock of lightsabers and wooden swords at this person. And that's also the same one with all my drumsticks, so I'll just start checking those like they're darts.
I mean, but we have knives and
scissors
and machetes, and I mean, we have all of this stuff literally just scattered around through the house.
Yeah, but most houses aren't like that, though.
True, but I just can't imagine. Okay, with the Oteros, I cannot imagine that there is a guy that is going to allow his wife and kids to be tied up while he what?
He was tied up first.
Okay, I can't imagine being a wife that I would allow my husband and children to be tied up without doing something.
Well, this wasn't probably a cut and dry thing, I'm sure that they were struggling, but in the mind of a serial killer, he isn't focusing on, they're latched onto my back trying to punch me or whatever. He's probably just thinking, I'm tying this person up. Now I'm going to tie this person up.
I guess.
Because they don't think like normal people. Remember, they have literal psychological defects that make them different. So they do not think as clearly as we do. So we would notice different things that they wouldn't. We would be like, okay, so first I was tying them up and the wife was biting my arm or something. But he is just like, I tied up the dad. I tied up the mom. Blah, 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 blah. Because he was only focusing on that task.
Yeah. Well, okay, so with the Brights, he tied Kevin up, tied Catherine up. Actually, he thinks that he had Kevin tie Catherine up.
But he says he doesn't remember.
But he does not remember. Yeah, so
I don't know. He killed a few people.
He killed 10.
To get blurry for me too.
I'm sure. I always wondered how serial killer remember the names of the people. Maybe they just like watch the news or something.
Right? I don't know. I mean, but again, that's like a traumatic event, so I feel like I would remember the people's names.
Yeah.
Because I remember he stalked these people.
Well, so he had Catherine in a separate room from Kevin, and he was choking Catherine, and then he would leave her and go strangle Kevin. Well, she was able to loosen her bonds enough to fight him and Kevin broke his restraints and started to run, and he was shot in the head by Dennis Rader. And
was he shot like twice?
May have been shot twice. I know that he was shot in the head, and he fell over, and so Dennis thought that he was dead. So he went back to worrying about Catherine. Well, Kevin was not dead, and he jumped up and ran out of the house. But while he was gone getting help, Catherine was strangled. Basically, she was not dying, and strangling her was not working, so he ended up having to stab her. He doesn't remember whether he stabbed her 2 or 3 times, and he's not really for sure where on her body that he stabbed her. He thinks lower abdomen, but he also did not have a mask on here, so pretty much he knew going in that he was going to have to kill her and kill Kevin, but he didn't kill Kevin.
See, that's the thing. Although he says, "Oh, well, I didn't have a mask on, so that's why I killed them." Like, no. He says, "This is the second time now you've broken into somebody's house without a mask on." At this point, you know that you're going in to murder these people, and not just to strangle them and steal some stuff. Like, you know that you're going in there for the purpose of murdering them. Don't sugarcoat it. Like, you know?
Yeah, so he was able to get away. He ran back to his car, which was parked a few blocks away, and he left. And I don't know. I mean, all of this time, he's married, and his wife doesn't know or, care?
Yeah, how do you not notice that your husband is a serial killer?
Yeah, that I don't know. Next up, Shirley Vian. March 17th, 1977. I don't know. See, this is what gets me, is that, yes, he didn't have a mask on, so he knew going in that he was going to kill these people, but he had a kit that he would take with him, his hit kit, that had everything that he would need to cut their phone lines. And I mean, thank God we don't have phone lines anymore.
Oh, I was about to ask, where are our phone lines located?
Well,
I guess we don't have them.
Right.
Because we don't have phones on the walls anymore.
Correct.
Although my friend does have one of the old phones on the wall, where it's like the really old-fashioned ones too, where it has the belled earpiece and the belled phone, speaker, and like the really old-fashioned ones where you have to it's like the turn dial phones. It's super cool. I love that phone, and we finally got it hooked up the other day to get it to work. It's exciting.
So this next one is super, super sad to me. At the time that this murder was taking place, his wife was 3 months pregnant with his daughter. Yeah. So we've mentioned before, he has people that he would stalk, and when he felt the time was right, he would go with his little hit kit and go to the house. Well, he went to one of his projects, one of his people that he was stalking, but they weren't home. But he saw a little boy walking into the door of another house on the street. He went to that house.
And he just traipses in?
Kind of. He knocks on the door. I'm pretty sure he knocks on the door.
This is also why we don't accept, door-to-door visitors.
Yes.
Like, we never have people come over, so we know that if you're knocking on the door, we greet you at the door with a gun, and somebody else is standing in the same room. Yeah, we don't ever have visitors. So we know very specifically. Paranoid. Yeah, we know very specifically if somebody is coming over, and if you were an unexpected guest, then we don't answer the door really, unless like we check you out and we're like, oh yes, this is our friend. Or my dad. He just shows up randomly.
Like the night that my dad died, it was probably 11 something at night, and I'm actually editing a podcast at the time.
Yeah, and I went to the bathroom, and we have like a window, and I happened to look outside, and I saw that there were like 2 police cars and the coroner and like a sheriff's car, and I was like, oh, what are our neighbors doing? Because our neighbors have the cops called on them all the time. Because we live in like an old people neighborhood type of deal. But they're like these, I don't know, like young people who are like always doing weird shit. And so like they always have the cops over. And I was like, well, what is going on? And then I hear knock, knock, knock. And I was like, what did I do?
Yeah, so they came and got me, and I answered the door. I got my gun, and they were like, no, I think it's the cops. And I was like, I don't care. So I literally answered the door with 3 cops and a coroner holding my gun. And I was like, yeah, can I help you?
And then she said, hey, just so you know, I have my gun on me. Can I like go put that away? And they're like, oh yes, we're glad that you are a responsible gun owner and that you told us. And thanks for opening the door with it. And she was like,
Yeah. Anyway, so he went into the house that the little boy went in. The mom, Shirley Vian, was sick, and she had sent her son, the little boy that he saw, she had sent him out to get some soup. So he knocks on the door, tells them that he is a private detective, and shows them a picture and asks if they can ID the person. And then he just kind of waltzes in with a gun, and he says it was a .357 Magnum. And then he told Mrs. Vian that I had a problem with sexual fantasies, and that he was going to tie her up, and that he might have to tie up the kids. And if she would cooperate with us, I don't know why he said us, it's just him, that everything would be fine. Anyway, she was extremely nervous. She was smoking a cigarette. She went on the back porch, and he had explained that he had done this before. He took her back to the bedroom, took all the kids. They were all crying. They were upset. And he locked them all in the bathroom.
I wonder why the kids were upset. It's not like he just told them that you were going to murder them.
Yeah, well, actually, he said he was going to tie them up. Anyways.
And kill them.
He tied the bathroom door shut so that the kids couldn't get out. And then he took her back to the bedroom. And he tied her up. She threw up. He got her a glass of water to comfort her a little bit. Oh, look how nice. And yes, that's sarcasm. Put a bag over her head and strangled her. In this case, though, he didn't strangle her with his hands. He strangled her with a rope. And the kids were, freaking out, banging on the door, hollering, screaming. The telephone rang, and it was the neighbor trying to check on him. So he cleaned up, I guess, all of his fingerprints and everything, and he left and went back to his car. I mean, he had, let this sink in, he had a bag that he carried with rope and tape and cords and anything that he could possibly need, and his wife never once noticed it in all of these years that he was killing people. I just don't understand that.
Sorry, that's the next person that we're going to talk about, is the murder of Nancy Fox. But foxes are my favorite animal, so wish that was my last name. That'd be really cool.
Well, you and Hannah can change your last names to Fox.
Yeah, but then my initials won't stay the same.
Well, that's true.
So that's why she's taking my name. We have thought about this. I said we should change our last name to Mountain.
Okay, so then next was Nancy Fox. And on the 8th day of December, 1977, he had been stalking her also. He saw her just kind of going in her house, Well, you can almost like never go in your house because somebody might be stalking you.
I don't like to leave my house.
Yeah. Well, see, his job with ADT allowed him to just kind of drive around and install stuff. So he would just drive around looking for potential targets while he was at work. This is how he got her name. He saw her dropping a check into a mailbox. And so then he was able to find out what her name was. And then from there, he found out where she worked. And he stopped in just to get, a close look at her and kind of size her up. So he parked his car about 2 or 3 blocks away. So kind of the same thing, that's his MO. And he knocked on the door to see if anybody was there, because he knew kind of what time that she was going to get home. Nobody answered the door, so he went around to the back of the house, cut the phone lines again, and broke in, and he waited for her to come home. And when he did, he confronted her, told her that he had a sexual problem, and that he was going to tie her up and have sex with her. Obviously, she was freaking out. He let her smoke a cigarette, and he went through her purse, getting some identification. And she said, well, let's just get this over with so I can go call the police. Okay, don't ever tell them that you're going to call the police, even though, call the police, please. She asked if
she can't. He cut the phone lines.
Oh, that's before cell phones. But she could go to a neighbor. So she asked to go to the bathroom. He said yes. She went to the bathroom. And he told her to come out and make sure that she was already undressed. Okay, why do you not jump out the window?
I don't know, because people are stupid. She's going to die anyway.
But
she knows he's going to kill her. Because remember, he stalked her. She had seen him before. She knew him.
Still.
And he still found his way to kill her. And so, even if she escaped that one time, that didn't mean that she was going to escape the next. Like, she knew she was going to die. There's just no way to avoid it.
Okay, so he handcuffed her, laid her on the bed, tied up her feet. He got on top of her and
strangled her with his belt.
Yes. So, with him, the actual act of sex was not there. He pretty much got off on murdering you by strangling you, letting you come back, strangling you, letting you come back, and then masturbating on your dead body, which is disgusting.
Isn't that like necrophilia?
No, necrophilia would be if he actually had sex with her after she was dead.
I feel like that's close enough.
Yeah. He strangled her with a belt, and then he decided to switch to pantyhose because he could get it tighter.
Can you really, though? Pantyhose are, like, really flimsy.
Well, this was in the 70s when I think some of it was actually made of, like, silk and stuff.
Can we have those back? Because I'm tired of ripping, like, my little tights.
He tied her hands and tied her feet. Yeah, so pretty much the same thing that he did with everybody. And then he got dressed after he murdered her. And also with every house, he took something. He took some kind of trinket or whatever. And that didn't change with this one. He took something and then he left.
Was he the murderer who was, like, also took his, like, victim's underwear?
I think that you're thinking of the Craigslist killer would take underwear.
I just get them all so confused. There's so many. Just stop killing people. There's no reason.
So the next is Vicky Wegerly, and I'm probably not saying that name right. And same with the others. He had stalked her previously. And in this case, though, he said that he was a telephone repairman and that he needed to get into her house to look at her phone lines. And he actually changed into like specific clothes for this one.
Hit clothes.
His hit clothes. Yeah, so he has now progressed to he has a hit kit and a hit clothes. I wonder if it was solid black because I feel like it should be. Anyway, so she let him in because, you know, you let telephone repairmen that you don't know is coming in, right? Anyway, so he had a fake instrument that he, you know, was checking the phone line with, and he pulled the gun out on her. And he told her to go to the back bedroom, and that's when he told her he was going to tie her up. And I love how when he's being grilled by the judge, he always says, and they were very upset. Well, no shit, they were fucking very upset. You just told them that you're going to tie them up and they know they're going to die. What do you think they're going to be like? Oh, good. Would you like some cake?
Oh my gosh, I can just imagine him trying to kill like the suburban like soccer mom and be like, okay, I'm going to tie you up and kill you now. And she's like,
it's not a good time.
Can I make some cookies first?
I need to
pick a healthy snack. Today is my meal prepping day. Come back at a later time.
So she started fighting him. He tied her up with her not his pantyhose. He tied her up with her pantyhose. I don't know why I keep saying his pantyhose.
But maybe his, we don't know. He was really weird.
Yeah. So, I mean, same with everybody else. He just really literally gets off on choking somebody nearly to death and then letting them, come back until they pass out and then letting them come back.
And then kills them.
Yeah. So he puts everything back in his briefcase after he kills her and he left. So, somebody, I think it was him, called 911 and said, about the crime that had just happened. The paramedics came but they weren't able to revive her and she died.
I wonder how all these victims have like cuts and stuff on their face if all he does is strangle them.
Well, I'm sure that there's lots of fighting going on.
Yeah, but how is it that they are the ones with like cuts and scratches on his face and he's fine?
Well, I'm sure he's fighting back. Maureen Hedges murder on April 27th, 1985. So this was in Park City.
And he can remember basically all of these people's houses, by the way.
Yeah, and this was, by the time he got arrested, was like a decade, 2 decades in some cases after the actual crime happened.
But he can still like vividly tell you who they were and where they lived.
Yeah. So he started manually strangling her. Okay, she was actually in her yard. Okay, I guess let me give you like the crazy thing about this person. She was actually a neighbor of his.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was working in her yard. And so he kind of like waved at her and stuff. And somehow he was able to gain entrance into her house. And he manually strangled her. And he took off all of her clothes and tied her up. I mean, he does this to everybody.
So, after he killed her, he, did what he always did.
Right, but this case, he stuck her in the trunk of her car.
Yeah, he put her in a blanket and took some personal items like he does, but actually thought about how he was going to get her out of there and put her in the trunk of the car and took her to a local church.
Right, I think that was actually his church, Christ Lutheran Church.
And took pictures of her.
Yeah.
On a Polaroid. And yes.
Well, I mean, because you can't take this and have it dropped off to be developed.
Kept the photographs. And he says that the police probably have them.
Yeah, I think.
And so this is like in his testimony. The judge said what happened then. And Rader said that she was already dead. So he took pictures of her in different forms of bondage. And that's probably what got him in trouble.
No, dude, that's not what got you in trouble.
Why did he only move her?
Well, because she was his neighbor.
Yeah?
Well, I guess he was afraid that he finally got too close to home. So,
but it's weird if it doesn't hit towards your home then. Right. Because remember he traveled for his job.
Right. Well, okay, so Dennis Rader was a very cocky man. Like, he wanted, one, he named himself, and two...
Like the Zodiac Killer?
Yeah, like the Zodiac. Actually, he liked to think of himself along those lines. he would write letters, a lot like the Zodiac Killer. He would write letters to the police, to the local newspapers. And the funny thing is that his writing was terrible. And what the police would assume would be like clues was really he was just stupid. So in one letter he wrote, "It's hard to control myself. You can probably call me psychotic with sexual perversion hang-ups. He would strike again. And that the code words for me will be bind them, torture them, kill them, BTK." And then he just kind of signed it BTK. So that's how he named himself the BTK Killer.
And after each of the murders, he actually sent the police like letters or called the police to report the homicide. Like, after he strangled Nancy Fox, he called the police to report the murder.
Yeah.
And then he wrote a poem to a local newspaper about killing Miss Vian.
I mean, he had issues, obviously. Okay, so he left ADT in the 80s, and he started working for Wichita suburb Park City as a compliance supervisor, and he did this in 1991. And if you notice, that's about the time that the killings stopped, because obviously if you look at his crimes, he loved having control and causing fear in these women before he killed them. And he was able to get that sexual thrill of being a asshole by working for the compliance supervisor, working as the compliance supervisor. And everybody who had any dealings with him as the compliance supervisor, he was the person that chased stray animals. He was able to have a tranquilizer gun. He
measured the height of people's lawns.
Right, he would be the person to fine you if you didn't cut your lawn or whatever. And everybody who dealt with him said that he was mean. Like, he got a thrill from being an asshole. And
he was also a Boy Scout troop leader and president of his church's council.
Right.
So there again, he has positions of powers. He has positions in power, and so that's why he probably stopped killing people.
Right. A few things that I want to add. I mean, I know that we've already ran through all of the victims, but I want to talk definitely about how he was caught, and I want to talk about this victim that got away. Well, he actually kind of gave up on her. So Anna Willis was a recent widow, and she actually went out dancing in April of 1978, and he broke into her house. You know, he knew that her husband had died and she was going to be his next target. So he broke in, and he waited and he waited and he waited, and she didn't come home, and he got tired of waiting on her, and he just left. And then he sent a letter to her house addressed to her dead spouse, and it was talking about how, you know, she wasn't there and why wasn't she there. But she comes home from dancing, and one notices that a door that she had shut before she left was open. And she picks up the phone to call the police, and her phone line is dead, and she freaks out and runs to the neighbor's house and calls the police. Well, she never stayed in that house again. She was just too freaked out. So she was very lucky, because she could have very easily, had she not stayed out late, she could have been a victim also.
Yeah.
And he wrote a letter to the police about this too, because that's what he did. He would kill people, and he would write letters, and he would send packages to the police with their driver's license or whatever in it. And ultimately that's what did it in, because he was really dumb. I mean, he was just, yes, he was able to elude the police for so long, but ultimately he was cocky and dumb. And okay, so there was an anniversary, and of the murders, and sometimes, like if it's been like the 5-year anniversary of somebody dying or the 10-year or whatever, news media will kind of revive it in people's minds.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they were doing with these cases. Is they were having
a 30-year anniversary.
Yeah, so somebody was going to write a book about it, and it was lots of hype, and they were talking about it. Well, Dennis Rader could not let anybody write a book about him without him having some kind of say in it. And so what he did is he starts communicating with the police again, even though he hasn't murdered anybody in a decade or more.
Years.
Well, no, 30 years from the time of the first murder. So he hasn't murdered anybody in a long time. He puts a cereal box in the back of a truck, but the owner of the truck takes the cereal box and throws it out at like the store or whatever it was that the cereal box was there. And I don't know what's up with that, unless he was saying, "Hi, I'm a serial killer who eats cereal."
What kind of cereal?
I don't know. It didn't say. He looks like a Wheaties kind of person. Something bland. But it's not like Cocoa Pebbles. Count Chocula.
Don't make fun of me eating old lady cereal. You guys always make fun of me for eating like old lady cereal.
Yes, you do.
I love
Honey
bunches of oats with almonds. Oh, it's just the best. Or that like the K cereal, like the special K with like strawberries or raspberries. That's so good. Mom about the healthy cereal, and you guys are like, I want the chocolate cereal with the marshmallows.
Yes. He asked the police what happened to the cereal box, which led them then to go pull surveillance videos, and they see a vehicle that looks like Dennis Rader's. And they run plates and stuff and get that it's owned by somebody named Dennis. So they're kind of starting to put things together. And he asks if he sends them writing on a floppy disk, if they would be able to trace it. Well, the police say, no, we're not going to be able to trace it. They were able to trace it.
Yeah, so Dennis literally wrote an entire
manifesto,
play-by-play of all of his murders and stuff to give them proper information, because this guy's a colossal dick. And he writes it on a floppy disk. And the only way that the police and stuff figure out it's him is because it said it was edited by Dennis from this church. Well, at that church there was only one Dennis, and it was our good friend Dennis Rader.
Yeah.
So he got caught from a cereal box and a floppy disk.
Yeah. And his wife divorced him as soon as it came out that he was the murderer. And
I wonder if she knew.
I don't know. Like, at one point during their marriage and him killing people, at one point she did tell him that she was terrified of the BTK killer and that he might break in and kill them. And Dennis kind of laughed it off and said,
no,
it's not
kill us.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. He's not going to kill us. Well, yeah, because you're not going to kill your family. Well, you might. Because if a woman...
There's a few serial killers who kill their families.
I know. I mean, I was saying this just the other day that, 90% of the time, if a woman dies, it's the significant other. Or if a man dies, it's the significant other. It's always the significant other. So he gets 10 counts, first-degree murder, and he pleads guilty to all of it because, well, there's so much evidence, and he's guilty as crap.
Well, not even just because there's evidence. It's because he wants credit for it.
Well, that's true, too, because, the BTK killings were so huge. Like, it terrorized Kansas for a long time, and he wanted everybody to know that he was the one that did it. And then another thing about him is that in his writings he claimed that the reason that he was killing people was because he had factor X, and it's the same factor that other serial killers like Jack the Ripper, Ted Bundy, Son of Sam all had. And then after his arrest, he said that factor X was actually that was a demon. Yeah, and it's but it's a demon.
Have any of these other serial killers ever mentioned this?
No. Well, we don't know who Jack the Ripper is, and we don't know who Son of Sam is, and Ted Bundy was too charming to claim that he was a demon. So,
yeah, but like, what about the other ones?
Well, we don't know who Jack the Ripper is.
Okay, well,
and we don't know who Son of Sam is.
Okay, I know that. But were there any other serial killers that he mentioned?
No, he just mentioned those.
Because that could have been like a cool theory to like combine the paranormal with the true crime. Like, oh, these paranormal demons have possessed these people and have convinced them to be serial killers. But I think that they're just like, there's something wrong with them. However, I really want to find out who Jack the Ripper was. Because that's just a cool thing.
Well,
I mean, like, murdering people is not cool. And we
right.
shouldn't do it. Just don't kill people.
So,
Say no to murder.
Do you want to do a stupid criminal? We always do that with Heather.
Sure.
Okay, our stupid criminal comes from England.
Like Jack the Ripper.
Kind of. So, a retired couple from Lancashire returned home in 2014 to discover that there was a burglar asleep in their bed. This is very Goldilocks, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, just like Goldilocks, he had washed their dishes, washed their underwear, and even bought them some groceries.
Did these people die?
No.
Did he steal stuff from them?
No.
Why
no.
couldn't Dennis Rader be like that guy?
No.
Like, actually just clean the house and leave the people alone. Just take a nap in my bed. That's okay.
Yeah, so I am not even going to try to pronounce the criminal's name.
Martin?
No,
Halton?
the other one.
Oh. Lucas Chesnowski.
Okay, that's probably not maybe his name, but anyway, we'll say Lucas is originally from Poland, but he moved to Leeds, broke into their house, bought them groceries, ate, and just slept and just hung out. And when they got home, they were like, well, I mean, he did burn a saucepan, but that happens. That's very Canadian of them. Like, I feel like that's a very Canada thing to say. Hey, you broke in and you burned a saucepan, but it's okay. I mean, you did your best.
It's like, oh, you tried. Like that meme of the star where it's like written in like the Comic Sans font or whatever. It's like, you tried.
Yeah. Crazy. That actually reminds me, when I was a student at Moorhead, a friend of mine woke up. She had a room either she had a room by herself or her roommate was away for the weekend.
You might tell me that a murderer was in her room.
No, it was not a murderer, but she did wake up and there was a guy asleep in in her roommate's bed.
But she doesn't have a roommate.
Well, she does have a roommate. The roommate just wasn't there. Either the roommate was...
maybe that was like a one-night stand and the guy...
no, it was... Like, I would have thought that, except I knew the person. And I had known the person for years and years, and she and I are still friends. And she swears she just woke up and there was a guy laying in the next bed. And he, I guess, was really drunk and stumbled in and just fell asleep in the bed.
This is the normal college thing. Because, like, I really hope it's not, because I don't like people, and I hate confrontation.
You're living at home.
Oh, yeah. If I woke up and a random person was just in, like, the next bed, I'd be like, okay, cool, get out of my house, Dennis.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Or get out of my house, Lucas.
Thanks for listening. If you would like to start a podcast of your own, use Podbean, because... I mean, we say this every We love Podbean. We love that it's super easy. We love the analytics. I just
Well, that's a fancy word.
Analytics. I do. I love it. I can tell what state downloads us the most. I can tell what countries listen to us. I can tell what podcast episode people like the best. I really love that. Yeah, and it's super easy to upload.
We heart Podbean.
We heart Podbean. Use our affiliate code Haunted Family PB, and
we have an affiliate code.
We have an affiliate code.
Hot dang, we're official.
And we get a little bit back, and it
We love you, Podbean.
It all goes back into keeping this podcast going for y'all. Also, I mentioned it last week, but I mean it still stands this week. I have an Etsy shop, and it has sarcastic shirts and other shirts. That doesn't have to be sarcastic. I mentioned it last week because I was really excited that somebody from Roswell, New Mexico bought a swimming shirt. But so I have sports stuff, and I have but
really anything you want we can make.
Yeah, I mean really, like if you are listening to this and there's something specific that you want and you don't see it, shoot me an email.
Hashtag say no to murder.
Yeah. Actually, I do have a shirt that says not a murderer, which is really funny because Facebook Memories always tells me, like, you know, what I posted, that, you know, in the past. And like a couple days ago, it said, it was a conversation that I had with Hannah, and it said, this shirt's going to be the death of me. And Hannah said, really, what shirt is it? And I said, not a murderer. And then I was like, oh man, that's ironic. But yeah, there's a little bit of everything. And if you don't see something, just let me know. And the Etsy shop is Cat Hair Glitter. Capital C, capital H, capital G. Is that all? I can't think of anything. Heather usually tells you how to tweet us, and I don't know how to do that. So I guess just
do
go.
You guys have a Twitter?
I don't know.
Well, if somebody can tweet to you, that means you guys have a Twitter.
Well, they can.
So I'm going to assume it's Haunted Family Podcast Twitter.
Okay. No, it's if you go to our website, hauntedfamilypodcast.com /Twitter/tweet us / I don't know. But somewhere on our website, you can click a button that says tweet.
Oh, yeah. So just go to the website. Check that out.
Yeah.
And
also on our website, you can listen to all past episodes. So if you are not able to find an old episode on iTunes or however you listen to us and you want to go back and listen to something, I highly recommend the Kurt Cobain episode from last April.
Yes, that was so good. I put my heart and soul into that video, or that episode recording. I was on it. Hannah was on it. Mom and Heather were on it, right? Yeah, Heather was there. Wasn't Anthony on it?
No.
Okay, yeah. Well, the whole crew was on it. The Haunted Family crew. We knew the shirts.
Yeah, it was a great episode.
Yeah, we heart Kurt Cobain almost as much as we heart Podbean. Courtney Love is not that great, but we love Kurt, so yay. Check out that episode.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
It was. Anyway, so if yeah, I sort of say if you want to do that, go ahead. That'd be great. We appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Hopefully next week Heather will be back with me.
I'm not good enough for you.
Well, yeah, you can always come back, but usually you're asleep.
Oof, yeah. That's always rough. Listen, life is kicking my butt right now. I have school. I have after school activities because for some reason you guys want me to be involved, and all that does is cause me stress.
And you're graduating.
Yeah, no, we are not. We're gonna fail because we're taking college classes already, and it's just bad news bears. It's bad. It's just bad all around. But anyway, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Adios.